Sometimes I go to the movies and I come out entertained. That's a good thing. Sometimes I go to the movies and I come out and I've learned something. And that's a great thing. And every now and then I come out of the movies and I'm proud to be a person of color. And with your movies, both of your movies, I get all three. And I was like, that's what it's about.
Hey everyone, welcome to BET Talks. My name is Unique, and today's guests are actors, director, producer, screenwriter. They gave us New Jack City, Posse, Badass, and now they're here to give us Outlaw Posse. I would like to welcome both Mario and Mandela Van Peebles.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us, yeah.
I'm super excited to be here. I did get to check your movie out.
You did?
Yeah, I watched it.
Cool. And you still invited us, so.
And there's a lot that's happening in this movie. There's a lot of messaging that's happening in this movie under the comedy and whatnot. Just like your original movie, you're shedding light on the West,
Right.
Black cowboys, well, the original cowboys, and everything that was happening during that time. Can you talk about why you decided to bring out another rendition of this movie?
Western. Well, when I did Posse, this light-skinned joker to my right was not here, but my dad was. And then when 30 years later, here he is. He's been practicing playing my son for a while, putting up with me. and I thought, America seems to be so divided right now. Like we got so many folks watching MSNBC, CNN, whatever, and then other folks watching, Fox News or fake news, whatever that is. Okay. And I felt we've been divided before as a country, and we overcame it. And Dr. King has a great line where he says that we either learn to live together as brothers and sisters in harmony or we perish together as fools. And so I thought, what can I do as a filmmaker? I want to make a Western that shows a more accurate portrayal of the West, because a lot of folks don't know almost 1 out of 3 cowboys was black. That before women could vote, there was a badass sister named Stagecoach Mary that had her own stagecoach that she ran up through Montana, and she had a deal with the U.S. Postal Service. We never see that in history, and it portrayed in a real way, ever. And so when I wanted to do this Western, I was like, I want to put some real characters in it and see them in their environment. And I wrote it sort of with the idea of the Johnny Cash song, Boy Named Sue, where he doesn't get along with his father. And then I thought, I want to just get all the best actors I can, the smartest, the actors, bring their superpowers to this and make another Western. That America is divided, but we can all come together and watch a fun Western. Have a beer, bring your expectations down low, laugh, play, and in the context of that, be exposed to things we wouldn't feel comfortable talking about with mixed company at a cocktail party. But if you can get them in a movie and you make this gumbo, this Western movie, Gumbo with Love, and we made it with love for all, because you've seen it, then I think people will come. So build it, they will come, and hopefully the movie Outlaw Posse will help bring us together, make us laugh together, and in a voting year, maybe make us vote together. That's the goal.
And he gave you a shot this time, because I read or I saw in an interview that with Roots, he wasn't trying to give you the part of Noah. So he gave you a shot this time.
Yeah, this time around, kind of like you said, I've been practicing playing his son for almost 30 years now. So I think we got that part of our relationship nailed down. What's fun about working with him behind the camera and in different realms of how we coexist together, this time we both got to be in front of the camera playing father and son. So not only is he directing it, but he's acting there in the scenes with me. So it had a whole different specialness this time around. Also, I think what's cool about playing, father and son is you're actually drawing from real emotions, real.
You don't have to fake the love.
Yeah, you don't have to fake the love, and you don't have to fake the conflict, whether it's set in the West or not. Relationships go through tough times, and it makes it very simple as far as like the process of getting into the scenes, to just have the person you're acting with be your actual dad. It's kind of like cheating.
Totally, and also the man. Let me just say this: the boy's talented. He can act. He's in the show. The show.
Mayor of Kingston.
Mayor of Kingston. He's acting.
Wu-Tang.
Yeah, Wu-Tang. And he could also ride a horse. He's a cowboy. So in a movie like this, where the action is kind of real, like there's a lot of scenes like the bank robbery sequence, that's all one shot. There's no CI, AI, it's all real guy. You know what I mean? So that means not only do I have to be friends and cool with the other actors, but with their horses too. So when he comes in to rescue Dad, if he don't get there on time with that horse, Dad is stuck. And we have to do the whole thing again. So it's really good to go in with people that know what they're doing, that are comfortable in it. And then, like, for example, DC Youngfly had to go to cowboy school. Cedric had to go to cowboy school. You know, so there's a lot of folks you go, okay, Alan Payne, you know, had to brush up on his writing. So there's a lot of folks that we brought in that could play it, but then we said, okay, now you got to get really comfortable in the West and really understand what you're doing, so it's absolutely believable.
With the father-son dynamic, you guys also shown, like, you have to give your parents grace.
Right.
Like, your character has so much negativity toward his father, not knowing what his father was staying out his life for a certain reason.
Right.
So, like, can you just speak on that, like, showing, like, sometimes you have to give your parents grace because what they're doing in the moment might not seem like the right thing, but they're doing it to help you in the long run.
Yeah, and that's that all tricky line between, you know, like Mark Twain had a great quote where he said, all my life my father was an idiot, and at 21 he was a genius, meaning that I come to understand him. My own dynamic with my dad, I didn't always like my dad growing up. I called him the paternal fascist, you know, but because he's just a tough brother. And you had to be tough to be Melvin Van Peebles and getting paid as a director before anybody else is out there. You had to be that guy. And him being that guy allowed me to be a slightly nicer, user-friendly version of that, you know, and then hopefully maybe Mandela less so. So, you know, but what happened was when I went to Hollywood and started acting, I realized there weren't any good roles. So then I had to learn to write. So then who am I going to go to teach me to write? Well, I went to my dad. And then I started writing, and then I needed good directors. So that each step along the way took me to another step where I go, this dude is a bad dude. He's been doing it for a minute. You know, and I appreciated him more and more. And that's part of what I wanted in Outlaw Posse, was that the son goes on this journey with his dad, and he starts to see that it's not just about getting the gold for you. It's about getting the gold for reparations. It's not just about doing for self. It's about doing for others. And so it's in that context that he starts to learn. There's a tagline we have. We say that slavery was legal. Not letting women vote was legal. Jim Crow was legal. When the laws are unjust, the just are outlaws. So he had a whole different thing on suddenly, oh, why are we outlaws? We're outlaws because the dominant culture is wrong. That's why. And we're gonna make it right. We're fighting for the America we can be, not just the America we've been. And once the son starts to understand that, he may not understand the whole battle, but he gets a little glimpse of, the whole war, but he'll get a little glimpse of the battle. And that's kind of like what happened with me and my dad. I worked with my dad on films. I didn't always understand what he was up against, but now seeing a diverse crew like what y'all have here, like you being able to talk to us, we didn't have that before. It was no women, no people of color behind the camera at all. When my dad made Sweetback, his whole crew got arrested for being multiracial while making a movie. So it didn't exist. So the part of his dream was what we have right here in this room. And so I wanted to create a dynamic where the son rolls with the father more and more and goes, oh, that's what he's doing. That's why he's doing it. And then finally understand. We can't tell them the rest because then they might not see the movie. They got to see Outlaw Posse to know what's happening.
Yes, and speaking of that, just seeing like the transition of Hollywood and all that, the recent conversation has always been about like the pay when it comes to like Black actors and Black directors. Can you speak on that? Like, has it changed a little bit, or is it still like messed up?
Well, I'm asking my son a question, see how well he's learned. What are the 3 loves in your career, son?
Ah, man. Well, you gotta love what you do, as far as what you choose to make a career out of. You gotta love what you say with your work, what the message is behind it, and then love who you do it with.
Right.
Who you get to work
And
with.
if those 3 chakras line up, you're rich no matter what the paycheck is. Now, in terms of your individual economic compensation, they always game the system. You have to find ways around it. So I may say, okay, y'all represent me as an actor, but you don't represent me as a director. Or you represent me as a director, but you don't represent me as a producer. I find a way, or I make them have some skin in the game. So I do it a different way. Like I'll go to my agent and say, okay, I need these actors. You got to bring me those actors. I need this much money. So I make them help me out and get involved. But that's after I got to be a little bit of a name. But I was never shy, you know, growing up with Melvin Van Peebles, I was never shy about doing for self. I saw Daddy do it. Look, the truth is, whether you work at the post office, whether you work in Wall Street, you're gonna find some ism. There's gonna be some lookism, some sexism, some racism, some classism. You have to have the strength to step around that ism and make changes in the business you're in. But be in the business of what you love. And then say, okay, now I'm that. I don't see enough women here. I don't see enough Native Americans here. Or I don't see enough folks that care about the environment here. You know what I mean? So we have to keep making changes so that we keep improving the dynamic. And that's gonna be in everything.
Speaking of independent film, we have streaming services that are now serving as platforms to help independent filmmakers get their voices out there. Do you think this would have been beneficial back during your time coming up?
Oh.
She's calling you
Is that what she just said? I didn't
back
really
in your
understand.
day.
Back in your day,
If you had a technology.
Come on.
Because it's like, I think there's still gatekeeping.
You write what you know, right? The Old West.
The Old West, yeah. The old Jack City. The boy wanted to make an old movie about old Jack City.
It's like there was gatekeeping. There was hella gatekeeping. I mean, there still is some now, but.
Okay, so yeah, I think that, well, see, the thing is this. Now there's so many platforms, it can get a little overwhelming too, right? So that's why Outlaw Posse is coming out in theaters March 1st. And after that, you know, we'll let it have some time in the theaters, and then we'll go to the streamers. Because the streamers kind of act like your local theater. So first, you know, you go out, hopefully people will see it in the theater, March 1st, go, right? Yeah. And then after that, you can see it in a streamer. I think what I like about film, though, and seeing a movie is that if you watch something on TV, there's a tendency where television is still fairly small and people are big. When you go to a movie theater, that screen is big and we're small. And people tend to put down their devices, they tend to pay attention more. I like being wrapped in cinema, you know, so I like the genre that way. But there's some dynamite things that are being done on television now too, you know, so it's not like we're not seeing great things on TV. But I like the experience of going to a movie with other folks and seeing it. I mean, like we saw, okay, Outlaw Posse played at the Pan-African last night, was it?
Sunday night.
Anyway, it won the Audience Award and it won Best Feature. And that's because folks that look like us were like, oh shit, look at this. And they were jumping and running and laughing. And you know how we are, we interact with art. Some people treat art reverentially, like they're in a museum, like, oh, we were like, don't do that! Oh, whoop, you gonna go whoop your ass! You know, I mean, that's fun too. So there's something about that experience that is fun as a shared experience. So the whole tribe gets together. And as the griot, the storyteller, it's fun to see that reaction from us together. It feels like family. That's what it is. It feels like family. And I think for a guy that no one likes, I had to grow my own friends. That's not true. I did kind of grow my own friend, though.
He's a lot of fun, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Any other questions? He needs to go for
He's my keeper.
Yeah.
No, so I was going to ask Mandela, what made you decide to follow in your family's footsteps instead of trying something else? Like, why go into Hollywood?
He was tired of stripping.
Yes. Well, honestly, growing up, being able to visit this guy on set and see him make a living supporting all of us. We got a big family. Basically playing make-believe, you know, that's crazy. That's a lot of fun. And growing up watching him do that, I wouldn't say there's another job out there that I've seen boots on the ground and had experience knowing like, oh, this is better. But as far as bring your son to work day, those were good days.
He's had a front row seat on it.
Yeah.
You know.
And I also, on the other hand, I like what you're able to say with our industry and how you can affect change in real life by creating a kind of a a world in a snow globe in a way.
Did he try to talk you out of it?
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
Still at it.
Why?
No. I want, you know, I want him to do what he wants to do, and he's good at it. You know, like here's the thing, I have my eldest daughter. Now she's got this incredible voice, like Whitney Houston. She can just shift octaves, it's amazing, in her head. But to the rest of us, she sounds like a dying cat. She can't sing a lick. But in her head, she'd be like killing it. Now, as a child, I went to her and I said, "Baby girl, you know, Daddy ain't doing you no favors if I don't tell you the truth." You know, and she's smart. She worked on her degree. She was working with special needs, campaign finance, and she's made a whole life that's not in the arts because that's not for her. My mother loved to act. She sucks. I would never hire her. So it doesn't mean just because you're a Jackson, you might be LaToya, right? You don't know, it doesn't mean you get a record deal, you feel me? And maybe you shouldn't. So in my family, we don't confuse people we love with people who are good at what they think they love, right? So there's a lot of things that I love that I'll never get to do, you know, but I'm lucky in that as a storyteller, I found a niche that works, and I found a way to create edutainment. That's it. To say, let's entertain, let's have fun, let's go in the West, let's kick some ass. But in that, let's get some nutritional value too.
But can we also talk about the luxury that you have to be able to like do your own independent stuff, but to also still do studio stuff? Because not everyone has that luxury.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I mix it up, you know, and it's not like I sit there and I'm like, today, I feel like putting on a cape and being in the studio. And today I want to have a message, I want to say something. So it's not really like that. What happens is I develop things that I'm passionate about, and then I also get calls from other folks. Like I got a call from RZA a while back saying, "Yo, man, you want to come work with me on this show called Wu-Tang, American Saga?" So I work with him on that. So people I meet will also have ideas about what I should do. Even Roots, I wasn't thinking about doing Roots. I said, I'm not gonna do enslavement, but I'll do empowerment. And they were ready for that take of it, and then that's how that happened. So it wasn't something I planned. So I think what's happened is that I have separated out my careers I've made. I've worked just as a director, or just as a writer, or just as a producer, or just as an actor. And then every now and then I'll bring all those pieces together and say, okay, on this one I'll do that, or I'll mix it up. So that's just more the luck of the draw, and I sort of flex and play with it. It's not like I have, you know, I'm not on some crazy high level here. I can still walk down the street, people kind of look at me like, do I know that Negro? But it's not crazy, you know, it's like I don't have to travel with a bunch of bodyguards, right? It's pretty sane.
I'm pretty big, right?
Yeah.
Y'all both taller than me, so.
So if he was security, it would be insecurity. But so we can still, it's not on a crazy level. And I think it's a nice balance where, and you know, I think the other thing is, I think it's also the work you do. Like this brother came up to me and my dad in New York, and he came up behind us and he said, tall brother with dreads. And he said, "Mr. Van Peebles, I love your work." So me and Dad both turned around. And he said, "I'm talking to both of y'all. I'm a fan, but I'm not a groupie. Sometimes I go to the movies and I come out entertained. That's a good thing. Sometimes I go to the movies and I come out and I've learned something. And that's a great thing. And every now and then I come out of the movies and I'm proud to be a person of color. And with your movies, both of your movies, I get all three." And I was like, that's what it's about.
Before I forget, because I know this is a question my director wants to know, will there be a New Jack City 2?
Ah, and my brother's keeper, my sister's keeper. Well, I tell you what, Alan Payne is in this movie. I don't know if you saw that little reference. We had a little fun with that. So I called up Alan Payne from New Jack, and I was like, "Brother, you got to come in, be in this one." You know, I wanted to have everybody, all the extended family, not just my biological family, come be a part of it. I don't know. You know, I think sometimes you do a movie that really works, and it's better to just let that be, you know? But then I've seen people come, every now and then people talking about doing another one. You know, this is what's fun, because people were asking about another Western. And I didn't know I would do another Western. And then, you know, my voices come to me and my inspiration comes to me, and I go, dude, I got an idea for another Western. And so I'll write it out and see if I can get the funding and like that. And the thing is this, why did we did Outlaw Posse independently? Because independently, we could say all the crazy things and do all the crazy things we do. If you take McDonald's money, you can't make Super Size Me. You can't go up against the system. If you take the studio's money, then they control the message. And with Outlaw Posse, we wanted it to be a diverse Wild West that was more reflective of what went down. Not reactionary filmmaking, not because they made all white Westerns, I'm gonna make an all black one or an all Asian one or all female one. I wanted to show us, make this gumbo with love for everybody.
Do you foresee yourself doing what your dad did and making a movie about him?
As far as Badass and Sweetback?
Yeah.
It could be a really good film, I think.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to pitch ideas to you.
Son, did I tell you about the time?
It must have been crazy to play. And
Oh, man.
it sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know, if you didn't do it, then it'd be fun to do it, but I don't want to copy him. Like, it doesn't sound original, but maybe there's something to it, I don't know.
Right.
It'd be a lot of fun.
What if you played me doing New Jack City?
That'd be a good movie.
That'd be fun.
It'd be
People
kinda-
would like that as a sequel.
There go your sequel right there.
Right,
There go
there's your sequel right there.
Yeah.
All the behind the
That's
scenes stuff.
wild.
That'd be wild.
You know, one of the
The
things
real
that-
drama.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm proud of on New Jack is that, you know, in a gangster movie, typically you connect emotionally with the gangster, right? But in New Jack City, of course you connect with the gangster and to some degree with the cops the New Jack cops, not just the New Jack gangster. But you also connect with the victim. And that was the key, because that kind of crack at that time had a price, and the price was paid by our community. So to show Chris Rock and put a face on the victim, that we de-glamorize the heck out of crack. I've had people come up to me and go, man, after seeing New Jack, yes, I liked all the energy, but man, I didn't want to touch any drugs. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of cool too, is that in the middle of that, to make people react against the dealing of the drugs, not just go with it.
Didn't you say someone stood up in a movie and said, "Don't do it"?
Yeah, that's not the full quote, but yeah, they stood up and said, just don't do it, my man. I'm not gonna say what, keep it PG, but yes, they sure did. And I was like, okay, we got him, you know what I mean? And that was the fun of seeing Outlaw Posse at the Pan-African the other day, was their reactions to the screen. I was like, yes, they're understanding. Do you know what I mean? And when we have to go to defend that family, and they've been disenfranchised and they're not allowed to vote. And in the voting year, we have that scene. It was like, the studio was like, do you really need that scene? I'm like, yeah, I do, actually. I want that scene in. You know, and I talked to Whoopi, she said, oh, hell yeah, that scene is in. So it was like, scenes like that you don't get to do if you don't do it independently. We can't tell you what the scene is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
But
Gotta watch it.
I also love how you shared the story of how Black people were supposed to get reparations, but it ended up going to slave owners.
And that's some stuff, and that's all true.
I know, I learned that like 3 years ago, and I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Isn't that believe? So just so y'all know, so when Lincoln died, people of color were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule, right? Hence the name of Spike's company, which I think is very cool. So 40 acres and a mule, that was it. All you people who were enslaved, you get 40 acres and a mule. But Lincoln gets killed, and after that, they switched it, and they gave the money that was supposed to go to the enslaved folks to the slave owners for losing their property, meaning us. Ain't that something?
That's something crazy.
And it's still to this day, man. So we, you know, and that's one of the things that come up when Angel, the bad guy in the movie, the antagonist, says, whether you agree with slavery or not, it did make America very rich, you know. And we have that reparations goal that we're gonna get. So, and he's put it, do you know, he's not that trustworthy as a son. You see him trying to spy on my character? A little sneaky, blockheaded.
But he had his reasons.
He did have his reasons.
He had his
He had his reasons. man.
See?
See, he had a real good reason. I'm
Right?
not gonna lie, he had a
Yeah.
really good reason. I would have did the same if I was in his boat.
How did you like DC Young Fly in the movie?
He was hilarious.
Did you know that was him robbing? the
No,
bank?
I did not.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Like, at first-
Spoilers, no
come here.
spoilers.
I'm sorry. When I saw that, it took a second. I was just like, hold up, wait, what? No. No.
That was so funny. He said, because I called him up. He said, "You want me to play what?"
And I was like, not him reversing it, but I'm here for it.
Right? Like, how often do you see that? And then when the sheriff is confused later and he comes out and he goes, "Black and white working in cahoots together. Who could have seen that coming? That our diversity is a strength."
I feel like the only time I've ever seen that was probably White Chicks.
Right.
That's like the last time I seen that.
Right. Yeah.
And a very old Ice Cube show, Black and White,
Right, cool.
that no one remembers.
Right. Yeah. No, that was fun. We had hella fun with this. Yeah. And then when Whoopi says the stuff about, in 1863, until then, you couldn't even legally be a black father. It was not allowed because you couldn't acknowledge that you were the dad. The slave owner made all the decisions for the child. That's his property. So until after the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865, if you're in Texas, right? Yeah. Then after that, you could officially be a black. So we haven't had that long to get our father game on. And this was kind of cool in our family. You've got the Van Peebles family lineage is pretty strong with their father game. We're not perfect, but we have a lot of dedication.
Oh my God.
What?
That's the dad.
What?
I'm about to say the dad.
Take him out of here.
Y'all heard it first. Dedication. Yo.
Wow.
Yep.
So what's next for you guys?
So, I play with things like I'll write something and I'll put it away for a while, and like I said, people will call me with things. So I'll just going through this process of doing Outlaw Posse takes a lot of energy, and there's the 3 phases of making it. There's the making it, getting along with the people you make it with, and then there's the getting it out there and selling it, especially in independent film, because you're not gonna see big billboards for Outlaw Posse. It won't be everywhere. So I don't really know. I have a couple things that I've written that I want to play with. I'm thinking of a series on the Van Peebles family, how we got into film through my dad and what happens over the years and how Melvin meets Malcolm and Sweetback. And then 20 years later, I get to direct New Jack City and I wind up playing Malcolm. And then Mandela gets in the game. So you see, kind of like the series The Jacksons, where you see them through the eyes of this family, or the Wu-Tang Clan. RZA inspired me in a way. But you see the business through the eyes of a family, because people always say, has the business changed? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And all those dynamics, and play with all that stuff. So that's something people have been asking me about. So that's something I'm thinking of doing.
So looking at your grandfather and your dad's legacy, what do you want yours to be?
I'm still trying to figure out what that word means to me.
Okay.
A lot of people kind of, even with my name, Mandela, they're like, oh, do you feel pressure? Or, Van Peebles, that's a big name. Do you feel this pressure? Pressure is the big word they harp on. And for me, I don't look at it that way. It's more so like a family library I get to pull from and use as inspiration. So it's kind of beneficial in that sense. It's not so much a bad pressure, it's a good pressure, because I know what we've been capable of, and now more than ever we have so many opportunities to be heard. It's great to have those resources, and whether Melvin's still around or not, he did amazing things and lives on through my dad, and I can soak up as much of that as I can and continue to give it on. So I think it's less about how I want to affect the legacy, and more so just figuring out what that means and how to incorporate my mark on it.
So what's the lane you're in now, and do you enjoy it?
Right now, I'm mainly focusing on the acting, and I like it. I like being able to live in a land of make-believe and then come back to reality and be myself again. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. I find that to be fun, refreshing. It doesn't get stale, but I could see myself leaning into, and not only see myself, I do on my own free time. I haven't monetized it yet, but directing and writing as well. So hopefully, we get some of that going in the future. I like to be able to tell stories, and growing up watching him do it, as I said, has been kind of a curse. Now I don't want to do anything else. I had a normal job once, and that was very different, but yeah, you don't get to have as much fun. This is hard work, but it's not as you get fun. It's like fun. This is hard work, but it's fun.
I also think, I was thinking the other day, is that there's a lot of things that our human species does that's not positive. I remember once going to the beach with him as a kid, and he likes to surf. He's become that guy. But as a kid, we were going to a beach, and the beach was closed because it was all polluted, some kind of oil spill. And there were signs up saying you can't swim. So he's like, kind of like, wait a minute. He was like, I don't know, 10 or 7, I don't know what the age was. And he said, well, wait a minute now. You tell us, adults tell us to clean up our room, but you guys haven't cleaned up the beach. So if we keep doing what you've been doing, are we going to keep polluting the beaches like you guys have been doing? And you could see it in his child brain making sense. Like, why should we listen to you if clearly what you're doing is not working? The definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing that hasn't been working and expecting a different result, right? So I think that one of the things is that he's been able to watch and he's got this brain where he can make sense of complex things. And that's one of the fun things about Mandela is he looks stupid, but he can actually.
Oh my God.
He's actually smart.
I bet you I didn't have to clean my room up too. I bet you after I outsmarted him, I didn't have to clean the room
I'd be like,
up.
oh, that's kind of deep. Brother ain't cleaned up his room. But no, so he has a way of seeing things that are kind of complex and breaking it down, which I've always, enjoyed. And in doing that, sort of questioning the status quo. A lot of people just stay where they're born. What determines where we end up is 90% of us just kind of stay where we're born. So if we're born in this socioeconomic area, and that's where we're going to stay. If we're born in the trailer park, we're going to stay in the trailer park. If we're born in the hood, we're going to stay in the hood. Now, there's going to be 10% that climb out of that, and there'll be 10% that fall down from something else. Not this guy. He's over in Paris, he's in Istanbul, he's learning and traveling and curious and trying on some crazy fashion, and you know what I mean? So there's an intellectual curiosity, and when he applies that to the world, and he's kind of a science geek, it's going to be very interesting to see where he takes it. So you go, well, I don't see a lot of jobs that can hold all that, but he'll find a way, and I don't know if it'll be in acting or directing or storytelling, but he's seen us make a way out of no way. When you're in the creative realm, especially as an independent, like I literally am unemployed right now. And I don't dress like it because of my thrift coat, but literally I'm unemployed. I do a job and I don't know if or when the next one's gonna come. And if you look at Outlaw Posse, no one gave that to me. I had to wake up, get an inspiration, write it, put it down. That's a lot of ifs. And it takes a lot of concentration to get it all done. Then I have to find some people with some money, get them to write a check, make them some money, bring it back. All that stuff's gotta happen. So you gotta be a businessman, you gotta be all those things. And he gets to see all that. And I think in seeing all that, he can apply that to anything. And that's what we need to do as a people. As a people, I feel like people of color, and my dad said it to me, we've all learned to play basketball, some of us rather well. Not me, but most people rather well. But we haven't all learned to own the team. We learn how to act, but do you know how to produce and put a show on? We learn how to use a camera. Do you own any cameras? Do you know what I mean? Do you own a show? Do you own a streaming platform? You know what I mean? That's the part that we need to think about more. America is built on capitalism and democracy. So you take those two things and say, okay, are we voting? You gotta vote. You're gonna complain about stuff, you gotta vote and make change. If ain't no one good running, run yourself. And you gotta have some sort of business acumen. And I think he's got both.
That was a long-winded way to say he proud of you.
Yeah, right. That was pretty long-winded too. I have to say, that was particularly long-winded. Yeah.
I'm proud of him too.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for both coming and talking to me about this upcoming movie and your journey together. I really appreciate it. Any last words before we go?
Outlaw Posse coming out everywhere, right?
Yeah, March 1st, check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go see it.
Thank you so much.